The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for Wuhan a short while ago. He is scheduled to have an informal summit in the Chinese city with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. Earlier, Mr. Modi issued a statement saying that he will be discussing a range of bilateral and issues of global importance. Both leaders are also expected to review the developments in the India-China ties from a strategic and long-term perspective. So Prime Minister Modi is on his way to Wuhan for that informal summit, the first of its kind between India and China. The city of choice is Wuhan. It is the largest city in the central province of Hubei in China. Remember, it's also one of the most populated cities in China. It has a special India Connect. There are thousands of Indian students who are studying at local universities in Wuhan. Additionally, Chinese, or rather I should say Indian cuisine has become a popular part of the cityscape in Wuhan. Now, the Indian Prime Minister left for the Chinese city a short while ago. A review of developments in terms of the India-China ties is on the agenda. Of course, this is based on information that has come out from both sides. The emphasis, though, has been on the word informal. There is no set agenda for these talks between the Indian leader and the Chinese president. The emphasis is once again on allowing a freewheeling chat to take place in an environment that isn't weighed down by the specifics of a formal summit. WION Siddhant Sibals joining me on the broadcast for more on the story. Siddhant, Prime Minister Modi, of course, on his way to Wuhan now. All eyes on the Chinese city where this informal summit is going to take place. And without knowing so much about what the agenda is, I guess we could wager a guess on what's going to come up for discussion. Trade protectionism for sure.
Well, Aisha, the Indian Prime Minister short while ago left from Delhi for Wuhan, and of course he will be reaching there 12:30 a.m. local time, but that will be 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time. But a lot of things will be in focus: protectionism, trade, border dispute. Everything will be on the table, but everything will be informal. No agenda will be given. There will be no notes. Usually, what happens in summits is that notes are given. The leaders speak by reading the notes, but this time around the format has been completely changed. 2 days the event will take place, the informal summit will take place, and all the eyes, not only from India and China but from the rest of the world, will be on when the leaders of the two most populous nations on this planet will be talking face to face, a freewheeling chat. And before leaving, the Indian Prime Minister also gave out a statement. The statement, of course, said that President Xi and I will be exchanging views on a range of issues of bilateral and global importance.
Right.
This shows that everything is on the table and nothing shall be missed.
Absolutely, and I suppose that makes it all the more difficult for us to wager a guess on what's going to come up for conversation first. Doklam, of course, is something that has dominated the conversation when it comes to the two sides. There was a tense standoff last year, but things have changed dramatically ever since. Do you think border issues are going to come up for discussion, given that the two sides don't even agree on the length of the border that is shared between the two countries?
Well, Aisha, before this entire summit was to be announced by the Indian and, of course, the Foreign Minister of China, there were a number of high-level visits. And, of course, this summit is happening in the shadow of Doklam, because Doklam is still in the mind and memory of everyone. And after Doklam, what happened was the first visit by the Foreign Minister of China here in New Delhi. He came here for the Russia-India-China summit. We saw that press conference happen between the Indian Foreign Minister, the Chinese and the Russian Foreign Minister. After that, there were several high-level visits. The Indian Foreign Secretary went there. Then, of course, the Indian NSA went to China. The Trade Minister of China was here in India. That's important because trade deficit is a crucial issue. And, of course, after that, what happened is that SCO Foreign Ministers meet and, of course, Defence Minister meet, in which both the Indian Foreign Minister and Defence Minister, both women, that's something that the world noticed, were there and, of course, discussed bilaterally with their counterparts counterparts, with the Chinese counterparts. So a lot of issues on the table, and of course this summit happening just a month before the SCO meet that's going to happen again in China. And this is, of course, let me tell you, the fourth visit by the Indian Prime Minister. He first went for a bilateral visit, and then of course he went for the G20 and the BRICS summit, and this is the fourth visit, and of course it will become the fifth visit soon with he going to SCO summit. So clearly a lot of things will be on stake when both the leaders will be meeting, and of course everything will be on the table.
Absolutely. Lots on the table, lots for us to pick from when deciding on what to talk about also when it comes to Wuhan. Additionally, of course, if I could ask you, Siddhant, the fact of the matter is that there has been certain developments as far as the US-China relationship goes of late, which has brought the focus back on, protectionism, on a trade war that is brewing between the two sides. Do you think that perhaps this was one of the reasons why this meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the Chinese President was fast-tracked, so to speak? We were hearing speculation at one point that it might have taken place sometime in the middle of May, but now with it taking place at the end of April, it seems that a number of other issues have also helped the process along.
Well, Aisha, the world is in flux. There is a realignment happening between various world powers. And of course, in this entire change, everyone is trying to navigate in the current situation, whether it's small countries or large countries or world powers. And we have seen recently a lot of things happening in the world. That's, of course, the tense situation between West and Russia, the North and South Korea talks, which is going to happen tomorrow, ironically. And of course, given this change in the world scenario, this summit is happening, this informal summit is happening primarily because India and China know that they both are rising giants in Asia, and they have to come together if they have to solve world's problem, because these are the country on which half of the world is relying for future growth. China, of course, the largest and the fastest growing economy, and India, of course, on its part, the fastest and the largest growing economy, and of course a democratic country on which the West today is banking upon. So clearly that is on the mind, and we had a talk with Dalai Lama. We here at WION, we asked the question to Dalai Lama, how do he thinks about the talks. He blessed the talks. He said that India and China can't fight with each other. They have to live together side by side. So he welcomed the talks, and everyone is welcoming the talks. We have been talking to analysts. We even talked to the former Secretary East, Anil Wadhwa, and he also welcomed the talks. He said the talks are the only solution, and in the current changing situation, that is the only solution, and India and China know that.
Absolutely. We'll have to leave it at that for now, Siddhant. Thanks very much for joining us.